Welcome to today's session, which is an emphasis on preparations for inversions. And while that sounds like a kind of a daunting class, potentially, we're just going to go very slowly and methodically and thoughtfully and do several poses and exercises that will prepare the way for doing some really gentle, just preparations for inversions. And to that end, the main thing is our breathing. So we'll do a particular kind of breathing through the program, and I'll just do a little bit of it now. So when we do any movement in the body, we're going to have that movement framed by the breath. So you can do this along with me. I'm going to raise up the arms, but start the breath before we do that, and on an inhalation, and complete the movement and then complete that inhalation. So a little inhalation, and then raising the arms, and finishing the movement and finishing with a little bit more inhalation. Start the exhalation before you move, and exhaling and completing the movement, and then completing with a little bit more exhalation. It's as simple as that, but it's very effective, and it takes us out of that realm where sometimes what we're doing is routine, or we're not paying so much attention. Just a way of paying more attention to the breath. And let's go to the mat now and take a lying down position on your back, with your legs bent and your feet on the floor. So a good way for us to begin here is with Apanasana, that lovely pose which stimulates our digestive organs and our organs of elimination. So bend one knee into your chest, the other knee into your chest. Rest your hands on the front of your knees and begin with an exhalation, drawing your thighs towards your ribs, completing that exhalation and drawing the knees away from you. Inhaling and continuing. So this way of breathing for me has me go a little bit more slowly, and I think I use the word thoughtful in a thoughtful way. Let's do just two more of those. And completing, and 2 feet on the floor again, your arms just by your side. Let's take this into a little bit of a hamstring stretch and adding an arm movement as well. So knees to chest. Place your hands on the outside of your knees, and on the inhalation, extend your arms and your legs at the same time. So legs stretch up towards the ceiling, arms overhead, and then exhaling and folding right back to the original position. And then let's go another round, starting the exhalation and then the movement, and then finishing the movement and the exhalation. And continuing. Make sure that you're keeping your buttocks on the floor, not lifting them when the legs are in extension. And even when the legs are straight up, you could adjust that the sitting bones are towards the floor. And then let's finish there with the exhalation and bringing the feet back to the floor, arms by your side. And let's wake up the spine with a few gentle bridges. So to any extent that you want, pressing your feet, tucking the pelvis and beginning to lift the pelvis up. The feet are firm, the knees are tracking straight, and then back down to the ground. For me, the best breath is lift on an inhalation. So breath cycle, lifting up on an inhalation, lowering down on the exhalation. I'm just going to lift up a little bit higher, but with the help of my arms this time. So when my hips are up, then my arms are overhead. And then hips come down and arms come down by your side. And let's go through a few cycles like that. And we'll make this the last one. And touching down and finishing that exhalation and pausing. Let's take the pelvic lift again. So press your feet strongly and more on the inside of your feet, big toe and second toe, and coming up. And then let's see how we go to balance just onto the left foot and do a right leg stretch up towards the ceiling. So anchor your hands, your shoulders, press your left foot, bring your right knee towards you, and extend the right leg up. Fold that leg down, right foot to the floor. Keep your upper back pressing into the floor where your top shoulders are, and then right foot presses down, draw the left knee towards you, and extend the left leg. And replacing the left foot. Let's go one more round. Let's see if we can keep the hips level as much as possible so that supporting leg has to be really strong. Your top arm strongly pressing into the floor and back to ground. And with the breath and an inhalation, extension and exhalation, back to floor and coming down in a slow fashion. Good. It seems appropriate here and a very good movement in any case to do Ardha Jatara, which is a half version of a twist. Bring your knees towards your chest, bring your arms out to the side, and then take your knees to the right side, only a little way. You might want to, at this point, turn your head the opposite way, and then keep the thighs close to your ribs and knees across to the left side. So we've got a strong tuck in of the thighs towards your ribs, and then let's move from side to side. So what keeps you kind of honest in your alignment here, in the stability of the pose, is to press the opposite shoulder blade. So knees go to the right, for instance, now as I'm doing, but the left shoulder blade stays in contact with the floor. I don't go as far that way, but then I'm more stable in my position. And last of all, finishing and knees to center and feet back to the floor. Fold your hands towards your chest, over your torso, and we're going to roll to the side and come all the way up to standing. And in the way of props for today, I have my yoga block, a strap, and a couple of blankets that I'll use towards the very end of the session. And so you might want to assemble those things as you need. And then let's come to stand on your mat in Tadasana with your feet a little bit apart. Soften at the back of your knees and drop your shoulders. And extend your arms down by your side. Extend through the elbow joint. And let's begin one of those long inhalations. Inhalation starts, and we're going to raise the arms forward and up. Inhalation finishes after the movement finish, and then exhalation starts, and arms back down by your side. The movement stops, the exhalation finishes. Let's do that with bound hands this time. So when you bring your arms all the way up, interlock your hands. Turn your palms inside out. Give your fingers, give your knuckles a good stretch up towards the ceiling. And then part your hands and bring your arms out wide to the side in a big circular movement and back all the way down. Let's do that again with the opposite interlock. So arms come up, if you can remember what the opposite interlock is, and then turn your hands inside out. Stretch all along the side of your body as you extend the outer armpits up. Release your hands and bring your arms all the way back down on an exhalation. Beautiful. Let's do a little bit arm and shoulder preparation in Gomukhasana arms. So right arm comes up, bring it back, bending your elbow. Place your right hand on the upper part of your spine, and then bring your left arm up. Bring your arm a little closer into the side of your head, and then let's do what we can to bring the left arm around and behind your back. When I do this, I have my hands close to each other, but I'm not going to force them together. So a better movement for me is to press the back of my hand into my back. It's good for my posture, but it's also good as a wrist extension. So you might try that without trying even, but you might be very fortunate, I don't know, supple in your anatomy and be able to link your hands. All right, let that go. Drop your arms by your side. Let your arms swing free for a few moments. And then let's go left arm up. Bring your arm back. Yes, you could join your hands with the belt. That's one variation. Or you can just aim for that. And now I've got right hand, left elbow. And right arm, bring it behind you and onto your back. I'm a little bit stiffer on this side, so I'm just going to do my user-friendly version of this and press my hand into my back. It's my lower hand pressing in. My elbow is stretching up. And then let all of that go. These are the good warm-ups for a forearm balance preparation, which we'll do a little bit later in this class. Last one, Garudasana arms. Bring your right arm up and crook your elbow in front of your chest. Bring your left arm inside of your right arm, and then Entwine your arms to whatever degree you can. You could have your backs of your hands together, or if your body works this way, bring your palms together. And then let's take a few breaths there, remembering to be thoughtful in our breathing and teasing out the inhalation and the exhalation. And then once again, let go, let your arms swing free, and other side, and left arm, crook the elbow in front of your chest. Bring your right arm inside of your left arm. See how you go on this side. And then your elbows, which way are they going? They're going a little forward and a little upward. Good. And then let all of that go. And I thought while we're standing, and I hadn't actually planned in a balancing pose, but I think in every session that we do, it's good to do at least one balancing pose. So I'm going to come over a little closer to a wall where I could reach out and have my hand on the wall for safety. And this is very simple. Just going to raise up and lift the heels up and stay up, and then slowly lower your heels down. Keep your weight towards the inside of your feet, so the leg muscles are working here, and lifting up and lowering down. Last one of these we do. Let's stay on our rise, and for me to be able to do that, I'm going to keep my hand down to the wall. And then once your heels are lifted well, have a look right, have a look left. In your situation, you might not need the wall for balance, but we look right, really testing our visual sense, and left, and then lowering the heels and coming all the way down. Okay, good. And then come back onto your mat. Take a lying down position, or actually, a lying down position. In a moment, we're going to do Purvattanasana, which is a strengthening movement for your arms. And it will test your strength. So you do it to whatever extent you can. And we'll bring ourselves up to a seated position. Feet are on the floor, out from your hips, and your hands behind you at a little distance from your back. If you can picture have the image of a tabletop, we're going to lift our hips as much as you're able to at the moment, and bring your head back slightly, look up at the ceiling, and then come back down to ground. Now, what you discovered in following my directions is that there's a lot of weight onto your wrists. I noticed that as almost to the discomfort level. So only go as far as you can, and it might be just a little lift of your hips off the floor. Or for you, you might come all the way up to tabletop. Instead of taking your head all the way back, just keep your gaze up towards the ceiling. And then lower back down, and give your legs a stretch out and a shake out through your wrists. Now, do grab your block. And take a seated position with your legs out in Dandasana. We're going to sit on the block in Baddha Konasana. We're just doing a little series of warm-ups for your legs because they're of use when we get to do some of the preparations for inversions. So I'm going to pop my hips up onto the block and sit on a firm surface that the block offers with my feet together and knees out to the side in Baddha Konasana. When I do this, um, if the knees don't cooperate very well for this, you might have your feet out at a slight distance from you. And also you might warm up the knees a little bit by fluttering them or flapping them a little bit. And once in the static position, hold the outside of your legs or the outside of your feet and draw yourself up to your full height. Keep your momentum towards the front edges of your sitting bones, and that's the advantage to sitting on the block, is you can really feel those bones on that firm surface. And then let's take the arms up and then back to conscious breathing and lowering the arms back down. And reach around and hold the outside of the knees and extend your legs forward into Dandasana again. Still slightly forward on the front of the sitting bones. And bring your legs into Upavista Konasana, and affectionately called the splits. When your legs are wide like this, just be mindful that that's a distance that gives you some challenge, but not over your limits in stretching. And then support yourself with your hands behind you. And maybe you can allow for projecting slightly forward onto the front sitting bones again. Look at your legs and be on the center of your heels. And turn your thighs in a little bit and descend the inside of your thighs towards the floor. We're going for that hamstring stretch. And then reach underneath your knees, lift up your knees, help them along to come back into Baddha Konasana, the bound angle pose. And this time, interlock your hands, turn your palms inside out. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling. Lower your arms to chest height. Go with your breath again. And arms forward and up. And then exhaling a little bit. Start the movement, lowering your arms. Complete your exhalation. Grab the outside of your knees again. Lift up. One more of the splits. You might go a little further this time. You might not. And then use your hands behind you. First, project yourself slightly forward. And have a look at your knees and be sure that they're right in the middle. So they're neither rotating back nor towards the floor, but in their median plane. Once more, arms come up. And it's a really nice opportunity to stretch right up out of the pelvis. Lift the kidneys and exhale down. Grab the inside of your knees again. Bring your legs in and come off your block. We'll use it later, so just leave it to the side. And I think this would be a good opportunity for downward facing dog pose. Let's start from kneeling. And when you lift up into your dog pose, see if you can put your attention onto your shoulder blades and move the shoulder blades up towards the surface of the skin. Draw your navel up towards your backbone. And then tuck your toes under, support yourself onto your hands, and lift your hips high. It's always a lovely thing to do, I think, to warm up the legs a little bit more in this big stretch they get in Adho Mukha Svanasana by pedaling the feet. So let's do a little bit of that. And then after you've walked your feet like that, take a walk forward towards your hands and come up in a gentle fashion from Uttanasana to all the way standing. We're going to do one more dog pose here. Bend the knees a little bit, hinge from the tops of your thighs, bring your hands down and walk your feet back, downward facing dog pose. Let's get the full hamstring stretch here by stretching back into the heels. Keep the diaphragm ribs, so we're talking the ribs at the front of your body. Keep them in towards the navel center instead of projecting outwards towards the floor. And then let's walk all the way in. Bend the knees a little bit and draw yourself up slowly to standing. Take a bolster. Did I mention that as one of the pieces of equipment that we need here? I don't believe I did. In any case, we're going to use a bolster and a block for Prasarita Padottanasana. So take your bolster in front of your position, in front of your mat, and then place your block on the top of it. And we're just going to jig the props so that they support you in the best way. And this is going to work for me, and let me demonstrate first. So when we do this, it's a way of introducing an upside down pose in a kind of gentle fashion. So let's take a forward bend and hinging from our hips and bring our hands down onto the top of the bolster. And then I'm going to aim to have the crown of my head onto the top of the block. And at this point, my elbows are bent. I can press into my hands and lift my shoulders away from the props. Now, keep adjusting your props, and you might need a bolster and a couple of blankets there if you're not reaching the bolster and the block with ease. You could rotate the block. But we're just trying to create that shape of an inversion with the head projecting out of the shoulders and down, and the shoulders lifting away from the props. Once you've done that, then also lift the abdominal area, the low belly from the pubic bone to the navel, up into the body. And this is a strong hamstring stretch. So we're going to take a break here and lift up and walk into center and up to standing. And we'll take the pose for one more time. So in dog pose, you're in somewhat of a inversion for sure. Head down, bum up. And same thing here. So let's step out again. So you're in a wide leg forward bend, and we come forward, hinging from the hips, and hands down and head down.
lengthening the back of the neck towards the head and the crown of the head pressing down, the elbows actively lifting up, shoulders lifting up, and shoulder blades lifting up. Keep a slight knee bend if you need to for the comfort of your hamstrings. But let's make one further adjustment here. When you went into forward bend, as probably I'm guessing you did, I did this, you dropped your buttocks back. So see what happens when you shift your weight a little forward towards the forefoot and a little bit light on onto the heels. That intensifies my leg work. And then coming out of the pose, press your hands down, lift your chest up, take a shuffle in, heel toe, back to center, and we'll remove just the bolster to the side and take up a block and a strap, your yoga belt. Let's see, I'll go side on to you this time. So here's my block on the low end, and I'll place it towards the front of my mat. And then binding my belt, I'm going to make a loop of my belt. So sometimes inversions are daunting for people, or for various reasons they're even contraindicated. But if we approach them in this kind of systematic and thoughtful way and just build up to them, I think they're very helpful. They change our relationship to gravity, and not just in a mental and emotional way, but in the systems of our body. So I've put the belt on at shoulder width distance, just above my elbows, not very far above my elbows. And then from here, if I bring my forearms down onto the floor, sometimes this is called elbow balance, but your weight is actually on your whole of your forearm and your palms. So in my crouch position, I'm placing the block between my index finger and my thumb at the front, and then taking my knees back. Just practice this very simple adjustment. Imagine you're pushing the block away from you. It probably won't move more than a millimeter or something. You're just pushing it forward with your thumbs and your hands, and that's a line of direction from your elbows to your wrists. And then stabilizing your hands in your elbows, start to lift your knees away from the floor and your hips up towards the ceiling. And then lower your knees down. Take a breath or two. We're going to repeat that movement, and hands press forward and down, and especially on the inside of your hands. Knees lift up, buttocks lift up. And now you appreciate the work that you did in warming up your hamstrings. Or I do, I hope you do. And then coming down to ground again. And we're going to do that for a third time. And as you're ready, knees lift, buttocks lift, legs begin to straighten, your hands are pushing out, and instead of moving your head towards the block, you'll go down towards the floor that way. We want to move in the direction, head more in line with the elbows and lifting away from the floor. Last thing that you're going to do here is take a tiny step in towards your elbows. Oh, and there's your hamstrings and buttock bones up towards the ceiling. And then lower down. And there was the work that you did in the preparation pose, Purvatanasana, where you were balancing on your wrists and your feet. All right, good work. We're going to leave that for a moment and practice 2 more exercises towards in being able to do our inversions. This one, like headstand, in front from this kneeling position, link your hands. When you clasp your hands like this, you're going to um, close your palms so your wrists are all the way together. Now, traditionally, headstand is taught with your palms slightly apart and your hands kind of cupped where you could fit a tennis ball between your palms. But for this purpose, if you bring your wrists all the way together, it kind of builds in a little bit more strength through your arms. Your elbows directly underneath your shoulders, your hands pressed down and forward, and then tuck your toes under, lift up again, buttocks come up, head comes down, and then your line of direction of your arms is forward from your elbows to your wrists. See if you can lift your shoulders up, your shoulder blades up, and then come to ground. Look at your hands. If your knuckles are white, then probably you were very tense in your hands. That's not necessarily needed. Reclasp your hands. Press your wrists down, press your forearms down. Tuck your toes under, lift up again, and all the way up. And your shoulders lift up, and especially your inner shoulder blades lifting up. We're going to do this a 3rd time and add another element. Once you come down, you might want to reclasp your hands. At this point, my elbows have slipped out a little wider. Can you step one elbow in, then the other one elbow in? They do tend to slip. And then press your forearms down, lift your knees off, come up, lift your hips high, and then bring your feet all the way together and try this. You might stay in the 2 feet on the ground position or balance on your left foot, bring your right leg up. I'm just going to bring it up a little distance so I don't lift my right hip. Hips stay in line. Then right foot down and left leg up. And the left hip in line with the right hip as much as you can. And then lower that leg. Are you clenching your hands? Can they be a little freer? And then knees to floor and buttocks back towards your heels. And slide your hands in. And this would be a really good time to stack your hands. So one fist on top of the other and your head resting onto your hands. Or if you still have that block nearby, you could rest your head onto the block. And then just soft breathing. Focus on releasing. But not too much, because we have one more in this sequence, in this cycle. And we go back to the setup for headstand preparation. Hands clasped, elbows right in underneath their shoulders, and then dolphin pose. Lift up. When you're in your inverted V position, then travel your chest forward, look towards your hands, travel back, look towards your feet. A little movement forward, and with the breath, You really need it here. And forward. Definitely a strengthening movement for arms and shoulders. Do what you can and rest when you need to. And now is my time to rest. And coming down, and let's take up that resting position. And this time I'm going to have my hands back towards my feet and let my shoulders and my shoulder blades fall out. Take some deeper breaths, take some relaxed breaths. We've done really well in that measured approach to upside down. We have one more upside down in the sequence. And for this, you'll need 2 or 3 blankets, and we'll set them up near to the wall. So let me demonstrate. I've got my yoga blankets here, and I'm going to place them near to the wall, but with a gap. How wide is the gap? About the space you would need to place your buttocks if you're sitting side on to the wall, and I'll show that too. So there's my 2 blankets, and they're folded, so I've got a neat edge where I'm going to place my shoulders and my neck. So this is driven by your particular anatomy and what works for you. I'm going to sit in that space that I have for my buttocks between the blanket and the wall. And then, like we do in Legs Up the Wall, a pivot. I'm still there at the wall, and now I can see whether I landed so that my neck is a little free of the blanket and my head beyond the blanket, but my shoulders tuck back a couple of inches behind the edge of the blanket. So that worked for me. Take a little while until you get into your optimum position and do the best you can with that. So I've got my legs up the wall, but I'm going to bend my legs and have the soles of my feet there and my arms just straight by my side. If I come up into a little bridge here, which you did with your feet on the floor earlier, then I can lift my pelvis with relative ease using my strong leg and buttock muscles. Lower back down. And try that for 2 or 3 times. Lifting and lowering. And now you know whether you're right at the edge of the blanket or have you scuttled yourself and gone off the edge. So walk your shoulders back and take the support there. It's really important for your neck and your shoulders. And coming up again. Your hands are free here. Your arms are free. So you might bring your hands onto your upper buttocks for a little more lift. Step your hands slightly further up the wall. Your feet a little higher than your knees now. And I'm going to see if I can tuck in my elbows a little bit more and reach my hands closer to my lower spine. So I've got more support there. I'm going to take one leg away from the wall, stretch it up. Second leg away from the wall, and stretch it up. 2 feet on the wall, Lift your tailbone, lift your sacrum, and maybe you can get a better handhold onto your back. That lets you free yourself from the wall and come up into a small shoulder stand. We're not going to stay there today, but 1 foot back, second foot back, lift your tailbone again, lengthen, and then free your hands from your back and come down very close to completely. But before you touch down, push your feet into the wall, walk your shoulders back, and when you touch down totally, make sure that your buttocks are up on the blankets and your shoulders off the blankets and onto the floor now. Rest your hands over your navel center and soften that area. If you're positioned like I am near to the wall, it's quite nice to have the support there. And once again, you're in inversion. And just taking a moment to consolidate on what you did. Feel the effects of being topsy-turvy, upside down. And then fold your legs into your chest, roll onto your side, and come upright. We're going to do a couple of counter poses now. So bringing back my block, my trusty block. And I'm going to sit facing the wall this time in the splits. And in facing towards the wall, when I bring my legs out, I'm not going to go too wide. But still employing that idea of coming forward on that firm surface of the block towards the front edges of the sitting bone. And then from here, bring your hands onto the wall. And perhaps climb them a little bit higher. And take time now to give yourself a good stretch through your back muscles on either side of your spine. Lifting up. Underneath the back ribs is where your kidneys are housed, and that's a good place to focus on lifting up and stretching up. And I'm getting a hamstring stretch all the while too. All right, and then as you bring your hands down, lift up on the inside of your knees and come onto the mat and facing the camera, but keep your block with you and have a seat on it again. Bring your legs into Dandasana, straight out. Bend your right leg in and clasp your hands around the front of the shin and bring your heel in quite close to your buttock. Use this as an opportunity to sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to do a twist to the right side. Left hand, bring it around the outside of your right knee. Going to keep that leg in the center position, your right leg, as you turn and rotate to the right.
My left hand's behind me, and when I press it down, I'm going to use that almost like a second spine to lift up, and crown of the head up. And then you could crook your elbow around the outside of your knee, and that might help you keep the thigh close to your ribs. And then first looking back, and then looking forward, and releasing. Good. Second side. Bring the heel close to you. Use your hands around the front of the shin bone, top shin bone, lift up. And then right hand, left leg. Bring your left hand behind you. Press your hand down. Lift your spine up. Let's go to that second stage and crook the elbow around the outside of the knee. Hug it in a little nearer to you. Good. Unfortunately, when we do twists, the shoulders are often elevated. So make an effort here to draw the shoulders down. Be cognizant of your breathing all over again and looking towards the camera, and chest up. Beautiful. And let it go. And we must do one more round because we have done a warm-up on that go. And possibly on this time, right leg bent in the same fashion. We'll take the left arm up towards the ceiling and see if we can cast it right over the right leg so the elbow's on the outside of the knee. If that's not available for whatever reason, then go back to any of the earlier options. So elbow, if you got it across, is levering against the knee. What's important here is your breathing. Because your chest is more compressed here, the breathing needs to be conscious. And that last step of turning your head forward, and then let's go last side. Plant your left foot. Support yourself on your backhand. Take the right arm up, cast it over your outside knee, press it against your knee, and then looking, what is that, towards your left shoulder. Keep the right leg very active. Keep it extending forward. Wake it up a little bit. And then that knee, left knee against your upper arm or your elbow. In the last stage, turning to face towards the camera. Let it all go. You've done good work. And both legs straight. Dandasana. And we're going to begin to set ourselves up for the yoga relaxation. So we've got some lovely supportive props here. And do take up that option. Maybe a pillow, a blanket for the back of your head, your bolster for the backs of your knees. And it's really a good idea to cover your eyes. It both helps your eyes relax very efficiently, but it helps you mentally to relax too. It helps relax your brain. So once you've got your optimum relaxation position, and don't rush through these stages. This is your practice of self-care. Take a few breaths, these kind of deep internal quiet sighs of letting go. And feel the back of your body long, from your heels through your legs, through your trunk, to the top of your head, backs of your arms towards your shoulders. The back body long and supportive of the front body as it softens into the back body. Yield the weight of all of your body to the floor and the props. Letting go, letting loose everywhere. Relax your jaw and let the lower jaw slacken back. Swallow very lightly and relax the lining of your throat. Soften all of your facial features and let the skin on your forehead, the muscles there, your temples, become very soft and sensitive. At this stage, and physically, and having done upside downs and stretching and strengthening, we want the body to come onto an even keel. Pacified. And as for your breathing, your breath has its own intelligence and adjusts itself moment to moment in whatever environment you're in. So you might just watch your breath, not so much as the observer outside your breath, but more feeling the sensations of it. Of course, and it's always the case that you could stay a while longer if you choose to in your Shavasana. But if for you, you feel a need to move, and I will too, we could do in this manner. Fold your arms, your hands over your trunk, bend your legs, and have your feet on the floor on top of your bolster. And take a moment side lying, so roll over onto one side, and stay curled up there. And the shape that the body takes is one of kind of a fetal position, as though you're babying yourself. And eventually come to a seated position to complete our practice. And we do this in a very traditional way of joining hands in front of the chest. The meaning of the word namaste is, as I understand it, the divinity in me greets the divinity or the light in you. So first feel into your own inherent goodness, that bright spark within you. And then we want to share that with others in the practice that we've done together and in the wide world for the common good. So we say, Namaste.